So good evening, guys. Baby brother back here with another video, and God gave me a word on my spirit, and it comes from 2 Corinthians 5 and 7. Right? It says, "For we walk by faith and not by sight. For we walk by faith and not by sight." God gave me this term, going through my trials and tribulations. He basically says, "Stop looking at what society shows you, and remember what I told you. Stop looking at what society shows you, and remember what I told you." So I'm gonna rephrase it like I'm talking to you guys. Stop looking at what society shows you, but remember what God told you, right? So, technically, I want to talk to you guys about do not allow your reality, your current state of mind right now, your current situation, to rob your faith in God to shape your future. Do not allow your reality to rob your faith in God to shape your future. And I'm going to give you three examples here. Three examples. Let's start with Job, right? Job was a fine man. Job in the Bible, he was a fine man. He had everything going for himself. You know, he had the sheep, he had the family, he had his business going and everything. But all of a sudden, that was taken away, right? That was taken away. Job went from having everything to losing everything. Let's go to Joseph. Joseph basically had a vision. Joseph had a vision. He had dreams. The Bible basically talks about, I will give you, your young men dreams and your son's visions and stuff like that. So Joseph had a vision, right? And Joseph went to having a vision to being thrown into a pit. He had a vision to being thrown into a pit. The Hebrew boys was serving the Almighty God, the one and true God, right? And they were told to serve another God, and if they wouldn't, they would be thrown into the fiery furnace. Oh, wait, where am I going with this? So, they went from saying, we will serve only the one and true God, and he will save us. But even if he doesn't, we're still not going to bow down and worship your God. And they still got thrown into a fiery furnace, right? Still got thrown into a fiery furnace. So God allowed reality, the reality to hit them, right? To test them. Remember, 2 Corinthians 5 and 7, walk by faith and not by sight, right? So sometimes, God will allow certain things to happen to see if you will allow your reality to rob your faith in him. The Bible basically also talks about what is faith, if it's not trusted or if it's not tested, right? How can you say you have faith if you don't go through that, So technically, right, they went through all of that, right? Joe basically wound up, going through it. And at the end of the day, he wound up praying for his friends. And Job wound up basically getting everything back. Job was walking by faith and not by sight. Joseph basically went from being thrown into a pit to becoming second in command over the palace. Walking by faith and not by sight, not letting his reality rob his faith in God, and not letting his reality, mold and shape him and turning, him angry and bitterness and hardness heart. Same thing with the Hebrew boys. Walking by faith and not by sight to the point where they got thrown into a fiery furnace, but didn't allow their reality to rob their faith in God, and it came out without the smell of smoke. So what am I basically saying today, you guys? Even this is for myself, right? You may feel like you've been taken away from everything like Job. You may feel like you basically been thrown into a pit. You may have feel like you've been thrown into a fiery furnace, right? But what if this is basically God saying, hey, they said, they're praying for this, they're praying for a house, they're praying for a car, they're praying for marriage, they're praying for, to get their marriage back, they're praying for, to get the things that the devil stole from them back. Let's see how they react in the reality, right? Let's see how they react in the reality. Let's see if they're going to walk by faith and not by sight. Because if they basically walk by faith and not by sight, and they continue to pursue me instead of, going after these idols, they're not basically, chasing money. They're not basically, trying to get all the fancy cars and find other idols. They're not trying to be on a dating site to find, another woman or another man when stuff, the things that they need that is in me, right? Let's say if they walk by faith and not by sight, then I will give them that expected end. What does Galatians 6 and 9 basically says? Do not get weary in well doing, for in due season you will reap if you faint not, right? For in due season. So basically, there's a due season. Just like Job, there was a due season. Just like Joseph, there was a due season. The Hebrew boys in the fiery furnace, even when the heat got turned up, it was a due season for them to come out. They didn't come out with the smell of smoke. So God is basically molding and shaping you in this reality to build your character, to build, you know what I'm saying, your patience, and basically try to bring you out as pure gold, for you to walk in your purpose and have a story and to have a testimony. Because if you don't have no test, you can't have no testimony. So, oh my God. So, what am I basically saying, you guys? I'm basically saying, even in your reality, we can look back at the story of Job. We could look back at the story of Joseph. We could look back at the story of the Hebrew boys. Even though they went through it at a period of time, they didn't allow their reality to shape their future. And when a lot of us actually go through things, right, some people don't bounce back from it. And I'm truly be honest, some people don't bounce back from it. Once, they lose something, it's over with. You know what I'm saying? They figure it's over with, but it's not over with because they're walking by sight and not by faith when God told us to walk by faith and not by sight, you guys. Man, they didn't allow Job, Joseph, and the Hebrew boys didn't allow their reality to rob their faith in God. So what am I basically saying? You may be in a tough situation, whether you lost your house, lost your job, lost a family member, lost your marriage, lost your kids, lost your car, lost whatever it may be. Do not allow your reality to shape your future and rob your faith in God to shape your future. Walk by faith and not by sight, you guys. I hope that was a good lesson and a good word. Yeah, you guys. No test, no testimony. So remember, walk by faith and not by sight, and do not allow your reality to rob your faith in God to shape your future.